who is out there. And, it's very interesting that every service has a sort of chant or comment like that. Like the Marines, you heard ooh. The Army's a little different. That's a hoorah. The Navy, a little more, maybe sort of guttural. It's a oorah. And then there's the Air Force. What time's dinner? That's for all my Air Force friends. Carl, that's for you. Yeah, and I know I saw the veterans stand up. There is another group that I would like to acknowledge right now. How many wives, spouses of veterans do we have here? And would you please stand up? Or husbands. You are a special group, and you deserve our support. And there's one other special person that I'd like to acknowledge. She's the wife of a veteran and the mother of an Army captain, and one who has supported me for 51 years, 11 months, and 11 days, my wife, Carol. Every year we celebrate 3 events regarding our military. The first is Armed Forces Day, and that's where we acknowledge everyone who is currently wearing the uniform. The second is Veterans Day, why we're here today, and that's acknowledge all who have worn the uniform. The final and the most solemn day is Memorial Day. That's where we acknowledge all that have died wearing the uniform. And there's one commonality that's among all of these 3 groups, and that's that every one of them, they signed a blank check made payable to the United States for an amount up to and including his or her life. That's quite a debt to have on you. And the simple fact is, too many people in this country no longer understand the price to wear the uniform is high, and we should never forget it. Today we're honoring and celebrating Veterans Day. And just to give a little history, Veterans Day was initially known as Armistice Day. And that was at the end of World War I, which ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. After World War II and the Korean War, and due to the urging of major military veteran organizations, Armistice Day was renamed Veterans Day in 1954. That was the right thing to do, as it brings attention to all of our veterans. Because veterans are a key part of our society. But most people know there are still those veterans that are struggling. And just some information about our veterans. The veteran population in California is about 1.4 million, and we're estimated right here in Orange County to have about 105,000 of those veterans, the 4th largest in the state. Most of them are well-adjusted, leading productive lives, but there are many who are struggling, trying to get their lives back to normal. We hear the phrases, homeless vets, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and then TBI, traumatic brain injury. And these become common phrases for many of us. But for the struggling veterans with these, it's much more than a phrase. It's a life-altering affliction, not only for the individuals, but for their families, mothers, fathers, wives, children. And regarding homeless veterans, California leads the nation. And no hard actual numbers exist or are known, but it's estimated there are about 4,000 homeless veterans in the greater Los Angeles basin, and many are in Orange County. It's difficult to get an accurate number because most of them live in the shadows and are unknown. Excuse me. These struggling veterans deserve our help and support for their service to our country. What we do know is that many are over the age of 55, and their number has gone up versus a year ago. Currently, there are several initiatives working to resolve veteran homelessness, but this is not the only area where veterans need assistance. So the question I want to ask you is, what can we do to help these veterans? And what kind of help and support do they need? And let me give you a little insight on some of those areas. The first and most important thing is Every veteran is different, and their needs reflect that. But some of the major reasons or major areas they need help is employment. This provides them the income they need to survive. Housing. You cannot get ahead when you're homeless and living in your car. Health and behavioral counseling. Many are dealing with the demons that still afflict them today. Education. Getting a college education or learning a new skill or a trade for employment. Legal. Assistance in dealing with VA claims or legal needs. Family issues. Resolving crises that provide a positive environment for families and children to live in. And then faith-based, ensuring a spiritual connection to help recover. The good news is that awareness of these problems with our veterans is growing, and there are many groups that are focused on their needs. I'm not going to attempt to name all of them, but just a couple. The Veterans Legal Institute that provides pro bono legal services to soldiers and veterans and their families, and the Orange County Veterans and Military Families Collaborative that assist in the areas I mentioned, plus several more. And I'm going to encourage you all to get involved as you can make a difference. Often, just being there for a veteran makes a tremendous difference. And I'd like to share a story. I have an older brother named Bob, who's a retired Army colonel. Bob lived in the Washington, D.C. area, and he would make weekly visits to the Walter Reed Hospital to visit and assist wounded soldiers that were involved in the War on Terror. Bob was with the 101st Airborne Division, and one of the soldiers he visited had lost his left arm above the elbow and his left leg above the knee. During some of the visits, the soldier was struggling, did not want to talk to Bob. So Bob just sat in the room, read a newspaper, being there just in case the need presented itself, and it often did. Several years later, Bob ran into this soldier in Washington, D.C., and the soldier recognized him, came up to him, gave him a hug, and thanked him for being there during his recovery, and told him what a difference he had made in helping him recover. I don't know how many of you have watched the program Dancing with the Stars. The name of that veteran was Noah Galloway, and remember him in 2015, he came in third place, which you think with a prosthetic leg and arm, that's quite an accomplishment. And right now, Noah leads a successful motivational, institute. Now, I can't say my brother was a reason for Noah's recovery and success, but I believe that his being there made a positive difference. Sometimes it's the little things that can make the big difference. We often hear the phrase, "Thank you for your service," and that is greatly appreciated. But we can all be effective if we give a little extra of ourselves. And I would encourage you to ask yourself, what can I do to help support our veterans? Get involved with a group or organization that supports veterans, or donate to these groups. There are plenty that could use your support. I've been at some of the groups, Veterans Legal Institute, as I mentioned, another organization, Heroes Linked, Patriots and Paws, that provides furniture for soldiers and veterans, First and Goal, which helps support these groups. I can just say we can never do enough for our veterans and their loved ones, but we can always do a little more. And I just want to end saying, it's been a pleasure for me to speak to you today, and for all of you who have served, my sincere thanks and appreciation. And I'd like to leave you with one final comment, and this was spoken by President Barack Obama on Veterans Day in 2016. Where he spoke, "On Veterans Day, we acknowledge humbly we can never serve our veterans in quite the same way they served us, but we can try. So let us all try to do what we can do to make that difference." Again, thank you for this invitation. God bless you, and God bless our great country.